What if I told you that the most famous sermon ever preached contains wealth-building secrets that could transform your financial life forever? Most people read the Sermon on the Mount as purely spiritual teaching, but hidden within Jesus' words are revolutionary principles that create lasting prosperity and financial freedom. While the world chases get-rich-quick schemes and temporary success strategies, Jesus revealed timeless truths that have made countless believers wealthy throughout history. Today, you're about to discover how the Beatitudes, the Golden Rule, and other teachings from this mountain message can become your roadmap to biblical wealth and abundance that honors God while blessing your life. When Jesus sat on that mountainside and spoke the Beatitudes, he wasn't just giving spiritual advice. He was laying the groundwork for a wealth-building mindset that would revolutionize how we think about prosperity. The first Beatitude says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." This isn't about being financially poor. It's about having a humble heart that's ready to receive God's abundance. The poor in spirit recognize they need God's wisdom and guidance in every area of life, including their finances. This humility becomes the foundation for all wealth creation because it keeps us teachable and open to divine direction. When we're poor in spirit, we don't rely solely on our own understanding or chase get-rich-quick schemes. Instead, we seek God's wisdom for every financial decision we make. We understand that true wealth comes from aligning our hearts with God's principles first. This spiritual poverty actually makes us rich because it connects us to the infinite resources of heaven. The kingdom of heaven that Jesus promises isn't just a future destination. It's a present reality that operates by different economic principles than the world's system. In God's kingdom, giving leads to receiving, serving leads to promotion, and humility leads to exaltation. When we embrace this poor-in-spirit mindset, we gain access to kingdom resources and supernatural provision. We start seeing opportunities that others miss because our spiritual eyes are open to God's ways of creating wealth. This beatitude teaches us that lasting wealth begins with the right heart attitude. Before we focus on investment strategies or business plans, we must first cultivate a heart that's humble before God. When we're poor in spirit, we become rich in faith, rich in wisdom, and rich in divine favor. This spiritual foundation ensures that whatever wealth we build will be sustainable, purposeful, and aligned with God's will for our lives. The kingdom of heaven becomes our source, and that source never runs dry. Jesus declared, "You are the salt of the earth, and you are the light of the world." These weren't just spiritual metaphors, but powerful wealth-building principles. Salt was incredibly valuable in ancient times, used for preservation, healing, and flavoring. When Jesus called you salt, he was declaring your inherent worth and marketable value. Your unique gifts, talents, and character make you valuable in the marketplace. Understanding your salt-like qualities is the first step to monetizing your God-given abilities. Light illuminates darkness and guides people to safety. In business terms, you become wealthy when you solve problems and add value to others' lives. Your light represents the solutions you bring to the world's needs. Every successful business owner understands this principle. Wealth flows to those who provide the most value. When you shine your light through your work, products, or services, people are willing to pay for the clarity and direction you provide. Salt preserves and prevents decay, while light exposes what's hidden. These qualities make you indispensable in any environment. Companies pay premium salaries to employees who preserve team unity and illuminate new opportunities. Entrepreneurs who protect their customers' interests and shed light on better solutions build loyal customer bases. Your salt and light nature creates demand for what you offer, driving up your market value naturally. Jesus said not to hide your light under a bushel or let your salt lose its flavor. Many people struggle financially because they diminish their value or hide their talents. When you boldly showcase your abilities and maintain your integrity, wealth gravitates toward you. Your salt and light nature isn't just spiritual identity, but economic advantage that creates lasting prosperity. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you isn't just moral teaching. It's the most profitable business strategy ever created. When you treat customers, employees, and business partners the way you want to be treated, you build unshakable trust. Trust is the currency of wealth creation. People buy from those they trust, invest with those they trust, and refer business to those they trust. The golden rule creates a magnetic force that attracts financial opportunities. Every successful entrepreneur understands that customer satisfaction drives repeat business and referrals. When you genuinely care about solving people's problems and meeting their needs, they become loyal advocates for your brand. This principle works in employment too. Employees who treat their bosses and colleagues with respect and excellence get promoted faster. The golden rule isn't weakness. It's strategic relationship building that pays compound interest over time. This biblical principle creates what modern business calls win-win scenarios. When both parties benefit from a transaction, the relationship grows stronger and more profitable. Customers pay more for exceptional service, investors fund ethical businesses, and employers reward trustworthy employees. The golden rule eliminates the short-term thinking that destroys wealth and replaces it with long-term relationship building that multiplies money. Jesus understood that sustainable wealth comes through serving others excellently. When you make their success your priority, your own success becomes inevitable. The golden rule transforms business from mere transactions into meaningful relationships. These relationships become your greatest asset, opening doors to opportunities that money alone cannot buy. Treat others as you want to be treated, and watch wealth flow naturally into your life. Jesus said, "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you." This isn't religious rhetoric. It's a prosperity formula that works when applied correctly. When you prioritize God's kingdom principles in your financial decisions, you tap into supernatural provision and divine favor. Kingdom principles include integrity, generosity, diligence, and wisdom. These qualities automatically make you more successful in business and career advancement. Seeking the kingdom first means aligning your money goals with God's purposes. When your wealth building serves a higher calling, you receive heaven's backing for your endeavors. Businesses that operate on kingdom principles often outperform their competitors because they have divine wisdom guiding their strategies. Employees who work with kingdom integrity get noticed and promoted. God adds his blessing to those who put his kingdom first. The phrase, "all these things," refers to provision for food, clothing, and life's necessities. But God's provision goes far beyond basic needs when you truly seek his kingdom first. He provides opportunities, connections, ideas, and resources that others miss. Your kingdom focus becomes a competitive advantage because you're operating with heavenly insight in earthly business matters. This principle requires faith because it goes against worldly wisdom that says, put money first. But Jesus promised that when you reverse this order and put kingdom values first, everything else gets added to your life. God becomes your business partner, providing supernatural strategies for wealth creation. Seek his kingdom first and watch him multiply your efforts beyond what natural ability alone could achieve. Jesus taught, "Do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow." This command isn't naive optimism, it's strategic financial wisdom. Worry and fear paralyze decision-making and prevent wealth-building actions. When you operate from faith instead of fear, you make better investment choices and take calculated risks that lead to prosperity. Financial worry creates a scarcity mindset that repels opportunities. People can sense desperation, and it makes them hesitant to do business with you. But faith-based confidence attracts investors, customers, and partners. When you trust God's provision like the lilies trust His care, you radiate the kind of assurance that builds successful businesses. Faith doesn't mean being careless. It means being courageous in pursuing God-given opportunities. The lilies Jesus mentioned don't strive or spin, yet they're clothed more beautifully than King Solomon. This teaches us that there's a flow of provision available when we align with God's natural systems. Worry disrupts this flow by creating stress and clouding judgment. Faith opens your mind to creative solutions and divine strategies that worry would never discover. Peaceful confidence helps you negotiate better deals and make wiser financial decisions. Jesus concluded this teaching by saying, "Your heavenly Father knows what you need." When you replace financial anxiety with faith-filled action, you position yourself to receive God's provision. Worry wastes energy that could be invested in wealth-building activities. Faith channels that same energy into productive pursuits that multiply your resources and create lasting financial security. Jesus revealed a powerful three-step formula for receiving provision. Ask, and it will be given to you. Seek, and you will find. Knock, and it will be opened to you. This isn't just about prayer. It's about taking progressive action toward your financial goals. Asking represents the power of clear intention and bold requests. When you specifically ask God for wisdom, opportunities, and resources, you activate His willingness to provide. Vague hopes produce vague results, but specific asks receive specific answers. Seeking takes asking to the next level through diligent research and preparation. After you ask God for business success, you must seek knowledge about your industry, market trends, and customer needs. Seeking means investigating opportunities, studying successful people, and acquiring the skills necessary for wealth creation. God honors those who combine prayer with practical preparation. Divine provision often comes through natural channels that diligent seeking discovers. Knocking represents persistent action despite closed doors. Every successful entrepreneur faces rejection and obstacles, but those who keep knocking eventually find open doors. This principle teaches that breakthrough often comes after consistent effort. When you knock with faith-backed persistence, doors of opportunity swing open. God responds to sustained effort combined with unwavering faith in His provision and timing. Jesus promised that everyone who asks receives, everyone who seeks finds, and everyone who knocks will have doors opened. This divine guarantee applies to financial provision when your requests align with kingdom purposes. The formula works because it combines spiritual faith with practical action. Ask for God's blessing, seek His wisdom and opportunities, then knock persistently until breakthrough comes. This three-step approach creates unstoppable momentum toward prosperity. Jesus commanded, "Judge not, that you be not judged." This principle is essential for wealth building because money flows through relationships, and judgment destroys the trust necessary for profitable partnerships. When you judge others harshly, you create barriers that block opportunities. Successful people understand that everyone has value to offer, regardless of their current circumstances. The person you judge today might become your biggest client or most valuable connection tomorrow. Non-judgmental attitudes create environments where people feel safe to share opportunities with you. When others trust that you won't criticize their ideas or circumstances, they're more likely to include you in lucrative ventures. Business thrives on collaboration, and judgment kills collaboration. People want to work with those who make them feel valued and respected, not criticized or condemned. This principle also protects you from the negative consequences of harsh judgment. Jesus said the measure you use will be measured back to you. If you judge others' financial mistakes or struggles, you position yourself to experience similar judgment when you face challenges. But when you show grace and understanding, you create a culture of support that helps everyone succeed financially. The most successful networkers and business builders practice this principle naturally. They see potential in everyone and treat all people with dignity and respect. This attitude opens doors that remain closed to judgmental people. When you stop judging and start serving, you build a network of relationships that becomes your greatest source of wealth. Judge not, and watch your financial opportunities multiply through the power of positive relationships. Jesus taught, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven." This isn't anti-wealth teaching, it's advanced investment strategy. Earthly treasures are temporary and vulnerable to loss, but heavenly treasures create eternal returns that also benefit your earthly finances. When you invest in kingdom purposes, God multiplies your earthly resources. Storing treasures in heaven means investing in things that have eternal value, helping people, building character, spreading truth, and serving God's purposes. These investments don't just pay dividends in eternity, they create favor and blessing in your current financial situation. Generous business owners often find their companies more profitable because their giving attracts divine blessing and customer loyalty. The principle warns against putting all your security in material wealth alone. Stock markets crash, businesses fail, and economic systems collapse, but investments in God's kingdom never lose value. When you balance earthly wealth building with heavenly treasure storing, you create a diversified portfolio that's recession-proof. Your kingdom investments become insurance policies that protect and multiply your earthly assets. This teaching doesn't prohibit earthly wealth, but provides wisdom for managing it. Store some treasures on earth for current needs and future security, but store greater treasures in heaven for eternal returns. When you give generously, serve faithfully, and use your wealth for kingdom purposes, God ensures your earthly supply never runs dry. Heavenly treasures become the foundation that makes earthly treasures secure and sustainable. Jesus declared, "No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money." This isn't a condemnation of wealth, but a warning about money's seductive power to become your master. When money controls your decisions, relationships, and peace of mind, you've switched masters. True wealth comes when you master money instead of letting money master you. Serving God while building wealth means using biblical principles to guide your financial decisions. You pursue prosperity not for greed or status, but to serve God's purposes more effectively. Money becomes your tool, not your goal. This perspective creates freedom because your identity and security rest in God, not your bank account. When market downturns come, you remain stable because your worth isn't tied to your net worth. Those who serve money make decisions based on fear, greed, and short-term gain. They often destroy relationships and compromise integrity for financial advantage. But those who serve God while building wealth make decisions based on wisdom, generosity, and long-term thinking. This approach actually creates more sustainable wealth because it builds trust and attracts divine favor to their endeavors. The key is choosing your master intentionally. Let God be your master while you master money through biblical stewardship principles. Use wealth to advance His kingdom and bless others. When you serve God faithfully, He ensures money serves you effectively. This proper relationship creates both spiritual fulfillment and financial abundance without the anxiety that comes from serving money. Jesus concluded the Sermon on the Mount with a story about two builders, one wise, one foolish. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. This parable reveals the secret to creating unshakable financial foundations. The rock represents Jesus' teachings, and building on it means applying his principles to your wealth-building strategy. The wise builder's house survived storms because it had a solid foundation. In financial terms, your foundation includes biblical values like integrity, diligence, generosity, and faith. These principles create stability that protects your wealth during economic storms. The foolish builder's house collapsed because it lacked proper foundation. Many people build wealth quickly through shortcuts or unethical means, but it doesn't last because it lacks biblical foundation. Storms are inevitable in financial life. Market crashes, job losses, business failures, and economic recessions. Those who build on Christ's rock-solid principles weather these storms and emerge stronger. Their integrity attracts new opportunities. Their generosity creates loyal relationships, and their faith provides courage during difficult times. The foundation you build determines whether temporary setbacks become permanent disasters or stepping stones to greater success. Building on the rock requires hearing Jesus' words and putting them into practice. It's not enough to know biblical financial principles. You must apply them consistently. When you build your wealth strategy on the solid rock of Christ's teachings, you create financial security that no storm can destroy. Your house stands firm because it's built on the unshakable foundation of God's eternal truth. The Sermon on the Mount isn't just spiritual teaching. It's God's blueprint for creating lasting wealth and financial freedom. From the humble heart of the Beatitudes to the solid foundation of building on the rock, Jesus provided timeless principles that transform how we approach money and success. These teachings show us that true prosperity comes when we align our financial goals with heavenly wisdom, creating wealth that serves both earthly needs and eternal purposes. When you apply these principles consistently, you'll discover that biblical wealth building isn't just about accumulating money. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts abundance through character, integrity, and faith. The Sermon on the Mount reveals that the greatest riches come to those who seek first God's kingdom, trust his provision, and use their wealth to bless others and advance his purposes on earth. But here's my question for you. Which of these 10 principles from the Sermon on the Mount will you start applying to your financial life today? If this video has opened your eyes to the wealth-building power of Jesus' teachings, please subscribe to our channel for more biblical strategies that can transform your financial future. And don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to discover that God's Word contains the most powerful wealth-building principles ever revealed. Your financial breakthrough might be just one biblical principle away.